The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in their floating pods, all eyes fixed on the massive holographic display showing the destruction of yet another world. The crystalline swarm moved like a glittering cloud across the planet's surface, consuming everything in its path. Elder Green, named for his emerald skin, gripped the edges of his podium. His four eyes blinked in sequence as he watched their latest weapon, a planet-killer missile, simply break apart against the crystal being's surface. Nothing seemed to work against these monsters. "That was our last Mark IX weapon," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The greatest technological achievement of 5 civilizations, and it failed like all the rest." Murmurs of despair filled the room. The swarm had already consumed 8 populated worlds in the past 30 days. Their best scientists couldn't explain how these crystalline beings had suddenly appeared from deep space, and their most powerful weapons couldn't stop them. Perhaps, a quiet voice spoke up from the lower rings, "We are thinking about this wrong." All eyes turned to Junior Council Member Blue, the youngest representative ever to sit on the council. Despite her youth, she had earned her position through brilliant sinological research. "Explain," Elder Green commanded. Blue's pod floated to the center of the chamber. Her delicate, almost transparent fingers danced across her control panel, bringing up an image of a blue-green planet. "We've been fighting the swarm with our most advanced technology," she said. "Each failure proves they can adapt to anything we throw at them. But what if we need something they can't predict? Something primitive." Confused whispers filled the chamber. Elder Green's top right eye twitched, a sign of irritation. "You waste our time with primitives while worlds burn." "Not just any primitives," Blue continued, undaunted. "I've been studying a species from a protected sector. They call themselves humans." She displayed scenes from Earth, cities, wars, sports, and survival stories. "These creatures still use chemical propulsion," someone shouted. "Exactly," Blue replied with a hint of excitement. "They're young, barely space-capable. But look at what makes them special." The images changed rapidly. Human athletes pushing through exhaustion, soldiers continuing to fight despite injuries, scientists working through nights to solve problems, survivors living through impossible disasters. "They're adaptable," Blue explained. "They live on a planet with dozens of climates and have learned to survive in all of them. They've survived planet-wide disasters, ice ages, and their own destructive tendencies. They don't give up, and most importantly, they're unpredictable." Elder Green leaned forward. "You suggest we ask savages for help." "I suggest we ask survivors," Blue corrected. "The swarm adapts to patterns. Humans, they break patterns. Their entire history is filled with examples of winning fights they should have lost, surviving disasters they should have died from, and solving problems that seemed impossible." The chamber erupted in debate. Elder Green raised all 4 arms for silence. "We've avoided contact with Earth because they're too volatile, too dangerous. You propose we not only contact them, but ask for their help." "Yes," Blue said firmly. "The swarm learns and adapts to everything we do because we think like advanced beings. We need creatures who think differently. Humans create art about winning impossible fights. They tell stories about overcoming unstoppable enemies. They actually seem to do better when the odds are against them." Elder Green stared at the images of Earth for a long moment. Another world appeared on the main display, the latest victim of the swarm. Its surface was already turning crystalline. "The swarm will reach Earth eventually," Blue added softly. "Shouldn't we at least give them a chance to fight?" The chamber fell silent again. Elder Green closed all 4 eyes, then opened them with determination. "We have tried everything else. Council members, we will vote. The motion is to contact Earth and request their assistance against the swarm." One by one, the pods lit up with their votes. Even those who had scoffed at humans minutes before were voting yes. They had run out of options. "The motion passes," Elder Green announced. May the stars have mercy on us all. We're about to unleash humanity on the galaxy. Admiral James Walker stood at the United Nations headquarters in New York, watching the alien ship descend from the clouds. It moved with impossible grace for its massive size, glowing with a soft blue light that seemed to bend the air around it. Behind him, the combined military leaders of Earth held their breath. "At least they call ahead," Walker muttered, remembering the radio message that had sent the world into chaos just 3 days ago. The ship settled onto the empty street, taking up 4 city blocks. It was shaped like a perfect sphere, its surface rippling like liquid metal. A door simply appeared in its side, melting into existence. Walker straightened his uniform and stepped forward. The aliens had requested him specifically, having monitored Earth's communications, and decided he was the most suitable first contact. 3 figures emerged from the ship. The first was tall and green-skinned with 4 arms and 4 eyes. The second looked almost transparent, with delicate features that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. The third was covered in what looked like metallic fur. "Admiral Walker," the green one spoke perfect English. "I am Elder Green of the Galactic Council. With me are council members Blue and Silver." He gestured to his companions. Walker nodded. "Welcome to Earth. Though I suspect this isn't just a friendly visit." "No," Elder Green agreed. "We need your help. Humanity's help." The meeting moved inside, where the aliens displayed holographic images that made the military leaders gasp. Entire worlds being consumed by crystal creatures, advanced weapons shattering against their surfaces, whole civilizations fleeing their homes. "Your weapons," Council Member Silver spoke up, his metallic fur rippling. "They seem so basic. Chemical explosives, projectile weapons. We haven't used those in 10,000 years." Walker noticed the alien wasn't mocking them. He seemed genuinely curious. "Sometimes the old ways work best." "That's exactly why we're here," Blue said excitedly. She waved her hand, creating a hologram of humans in various situations. Soldiers fighting through mud, firefighters running into burning buildings, doctors working for days without rest. "Your species has something we lost long ago," she continued. "You adapt. You improvise. You keep fighting when logic says you should surrender. And that's why you think we can help against these crystal things." Walker asked. "The swarm," Elder Green corrected. "They adapt to patterns, to technology. They learn and evolve rapidly. But they've never encountered anything like humans." One of the generals spoke up. "Our weapons are primitive compared to yours. How could we possibly help?" Blue floated forward. "We watched your history. You won battles through surprise, through doing the unexpected. Your soldiers fight on when their bodies should quit. Your people survive disasters that should kill them. You don't make sense, and that's exactly what we need." Walker studied the hologram of the swarm. "You said they adapt to patterns. What happens if there is no pattern?" "Exactly," Blue exclaimed. "That's what we want to find out." Elder Green stepped forward. "We offer an exchange. We will share some of our technology. Nothing that could destabilize your society, but enough to help you fight. In return, we need your soldiers, your strategists, your survivors." Walker looked at the other military leaders. They had all seen the images of worlds dying. The swarm would reach Earth eventually. Better to fight them on their terms than wait for them to arrive. "One condition," Walker said. "We fight as equals. Not as your primitive weapons, but as full allies." Elder Green blinked all 4 eyes in sequence. "Agreed. Though I must warn you, the other races may not treat you as equals at first." Walker smiled. "That's fine. We're used to being underestimated." "Then we have an accord," Elder Green announced. "Welcome to the galactic community, humanity. Our first joint briefing begins in 1 hour. We'll see if your reputation for adaptability is deserved." As the aliens turned to leave, Walker heard Blue whisper to Silver, "Did you notice? He smiled when we told him it was nearly impossible. These humans really are different. The fate of the galaxy now rested partly in human hands, and strangely, Walker felt oddly confident. After all, humanity had its back against the wall, and that's when they did their best work. The alien training facility on Mars buzzed with activity. 3 weeks had passed since first contact, and the combined human-alien forces were preparing for their first strike against the swarm. But right now, Council Member Blue was staring at the training room's observation screen in disbelief. "They did it again," she whispered. On the screen, a human soldier named Jack had just completed an impossible obstacle course designed to test advanced alien races. The course used gravity shifts, holographic threats, and environmental hazards. No other species had finished it without technological aids. Jack had done it with nothing but standard Earth military gear. "How?" Silver asked, his metallic fur standing on end. The gravity shifts alone should have stopped him. "Watch the replay." Blue pointed at the screen. "See how he uses the shifting gravity to his advantage. When it increases, he rolls with it. When it decreases, he uses objects to pull himself along. He's treating the obstacles like opportunities." In another section of the facility, Anna Miller, a military strategist from Earth, was giving a presentation to alien commanders. The topic: Earth's historical warfare techniques. "You're saying humans used birds to defeat ships?" An alien commander asked in disbelief. Anna nodded. "Greek fire in the Byzantine Empire. They trained birds to carry small fire bombs. The birds would land on enemy ships, and she made an explosion gesture with her hands." "But that's so primitive," the commander protested. "That's exactly why it worked," Anna explained. "The enemy expected typical naval warfare. They didn't expect attacks from above by birds. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one." Elder Green watched these interactions with growing interest. In just 3 weeks, humans had broken every preconception the Council had about primitive species. They'd mastered alien weapons in days instead of months. They'd found ways to improve advanced technology with simple modifications. "Report," he commanded, entering the main strategy room. Blue brought up a holographic display. "Humans show extraordinary capabilities in several areas we never considered important. They can process multiple threats simultaneously without computer assistance. They adapt to new situations faster than our AIs can calculate responses. And most surprisingly, they get better under pressure." The display showed various training scenarios. Humans performing better as conditions got worse. Soldiers thinking clearer in chaos. Teams becoming more effective when systems failed. "It's like they're designed for crisis," Silver added. "The more impossible the situation, the more creative their solutions become." Just then, alarms blared through the facility. A test simulation had gone wrong, trapping several alien researchers in a chamber filling with toxic gas. The facility's AI announced it would take 15 minutes to safely vent the chamber. Before anyone could react, they watched on screens as 2 human maintenance workers broke into an air vent. The workers crawled through the narrow space, used their basic tools to force open an emergency panel, and pulled the researchers to safety. Total time: 3 minutes. They didn't wait for authorization, an alien observer noted. They didn't wait for a plan, another added. They saw people in danger and acted, Blue said, understanding dawning in her eyes. No analysis paralysis, no waiting for optimal solutions. They saw a problem and solved it with whatever they had. Elder Green gathered the council members. The swarm attacks in patterns. They adapt to patterns. But humans don't follow patterns, Blue finished. They break them. They thrive in chaos. She was interrupted by sounds of cheering. In the training room, another human had just broken a simulation by doing something completely unexpected, using the safety protocols themselves as a weapon. "I think," Elder Green said slowly, "we might actually have a chance against the swarm. Not because humans are more advanced, but because they're different. They don't think like us, or the swarm. They think like humans, Blue said simply. And that might be exactly what the galaxy needs right now. As if to prove her point, on a nearby screen, a human engineer was explaining to amazed alien scientists how a simple lever could do the work of their most advanced lifting technology, using nothing but basic physics and a piece of metal. Sometimes, it seemed, the best weapon against an advanced enemy was something completely unexpected, something like humanity. Captain Tom Reed watched the crystalline swarm through his ship's viewport. The massive cloud of shimmering creatures filled the space around a small mining colony, their surfaces reflecting starlight like millions of deadly diamonds. This was humanity's first real combat encounter with the enemy. Remember, Elder Green's voice came through the comm system. Our advanced energy weapons are useless against them. They adapt too quickly. Good thing we brought something less advanced then, Tom replied, patting the modified railgun mounted on his ship. The weapon was a strange mix of human engineering and alien technology. Simple electromagnetic principles combined with exotic materials. The human fleet had positioned itself behind the moon of the mining colony. 15 ships, small by alien standards, waited in formation. Alongside them, massive alien vessels hung in space, their crews curious to see what these primitives would do. Reading multiple swarm formations, the sensor operator reported, "They're moving in their usual attack pattern, organized waves of crystalline entities." Tom smiled. That's what we were counting on. All ships, execute Operation Chaos. The human fleet burst into action, but not in any pattern the aliens had ever seen. Each ship moved in seemingly random directions, firing weapons that shouldn't work together. Railguns launched chunks of metal enhanced with alien tech. Simple chemical explosives carried payloads of unstable elements. Even their engine exhausts had been modified to spread clouds of disruptive particles. What are they doing? An alien commander demanded over the general channel. There's no strategy here. But there was. The humans had noticed something about the swarm that the aliens had missed. The crystalline beings were too perfect, too orderly. They expected patterns because they themselves operated in patterns. Now, Tom ordered. The human ships scattered in 15 different directions. The swarm, trying to adapt to multiple attack patterns simultaneously, began to show signs of confusion. Their perfect formations wavered. "Look," Blue's excited voice came over the comm. "The crystalline structures. They're destabilizing." She was right. The swarm couldn't adapt to the chaos of human warfare. As they tried to counter one attack, another would hit them from an unexpected angle with a completely different weapon. Their usual strategy of analyzing and adapting to enemy patterns failed when there were no patterns to analyze. "All ships, commence final phase," Tom commanded. The human fleet regrouped and charged directly at the swarm's center, a suicide run by any logical analysis. The alien commanders watched in horror. They'll be destroyed. But at the last moment, the human ships released their secret weapon. Containers of simple water, flash frozen in the vacuum of space, combined with trace elements from alien technology. The chaotic spread of frozen shards, each carrying unpredictable energy signatures, tore through the swarm like buckshot through glass. The crystalline beings, unable to form a coherent defense against such a primitive yet enhanced attack, began to shatter. Their perfect formations broke apart as they tried and failed to adapt to the multiple threats coming from all directions. "Keep pushing," Tom urged. "They can't handle chaos. Don't give them time to think." More human ships arrived from behind the moon, launching waves of what looked like space junk, but each piece had been carefully chosen to resonate at frequencies that disrupted the swarm's crystalline structure. The aliens watched in amazement as humanity's primitive tactics tore apart an enemy their advanced weapons couldn't scratch. Within an hour, it was over. The remaining swarm creatures fled, leaving behind a trail of crystalline fragments that glittered in the starlight. Elder Green's voice was filled with awe. In all our battles, we've never driven them back. Not once. Until today. Tom looked at the scattered remains of the swarm. Sometimes the best way to beat an advanced enemy is to be unpredictable. The swarm expects patterns, logic, advanced technology. We gave them chaos, improvisation, and good old-fashioned human ingenuity. As the human fleet regrouped, alien commanders bombarded them with questions about their tactics. But there was really only one answer. They had won because they fought like humans, unpredictably, creatively, and with a complete disregard for what should or shouldn't work. The galaxy had just learned an important lesson. Never underestimate humanity's talent for creative destruction. The swarm had encountered its first real defeat, and it was just the beginning. The massive war room aboard the Galactic Council's command ship had changed dramatically in the 2 months since the first human victory. Gone were the complex holographic battle plans and sophisticated AI predictions. Instead, the walls were covered with simple paper maps and hand-drawn diagrams. Alien commanders stood around tables, studying books about Earth's historical battles. "I still don't understand," a furry commander from the Centauri sector said, holding up a book about ancient Earth warfare. "How does this guerrilla warfare work?" Anna Miller, now promoted to Chief Human Strategy Advisor, picked up a handful of small stones from a nearby table. "Think of these as ships," she said. "Traditional alien warfare lines them up like this." She arranged the stones in a perfect formation. But humans, she scattered the stones randomly. "We strike from unexpected directions, then disappear. We turn our weakness, having fewer ships and simpler technology, into strength. The enemy can't hit what they can't predict." The alien commanders watched in fascination as she demonstrated more Earth battle tactics using simple objects. The same techniques humans had used in their forests and jungles now proved devastatingly effective in space. In another part of the ship, Tom Reed was teaching alien engineers about something even more basic: friction. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best, he explained, showing them how to modify their energy weapons with mechanical triggers. The swarm adapts to energy signatures, but they can't adapt to pure physics. Elder Green watched these sessions with growing respect. In the past 2 months, human strategies had led to 6 major victories against the swarm. Not through overwhelming force or advanced technology, but through unpredictability and in basic science. "Report," he said to Blue, who was analyzing the latest battle data. "The swarm is showing signs of genuine confusion," she replied excitedly. "Look at these readings. They're trying to adapt to our new tactics, but they can't because there's no pattern to adapt to." Each human commander fights differently. On the main screen, footage showed the latest human innovation: ships deliberately flying into debris fields during battles. The aliens had thought it was suicide until they saw how the humans used the chaos of floating debris as both cover and weapons. "They're teaching us to think differently," Silver added, joining them. "Yesterday, I watched a human engineer defeat a swarm attack using nothing but reflected sunlight and simple mirrors. We had been trying to develop new energy weapons when all we needed was basic physics." The war room's door opened, and Admiral Walker entered with a group of human historians. The aliens had been surprised when humans insisted on bringing scholars of ancient warfare to space. Now they understood why. "The art of war," Walker said, holding up an ancient Earth book. "Sun Tzu wrote this over 2,000 years ago, but his principles about deception, flexibility, and attacking weaknesses still work today, even against crystalline aliens." Around the ship, more signs of human influence appeared. Alien soldiers practiced fighting without their advanced targeting systems, learning to trust their instincts. Engineers studied simple machines, finding ways to combine basic mechanics with advanced technology to create weapons the swarm couldn't predict. "We've been overthinking this war," Elder Green realized, watching an alien crew successfully fight off a swarm attack using modified versions of ancient Earth catapults. In space, the swarm expects complexity because that's what we gave them. Humanity brings something different. Organized chaos. Blue agreed. Look at how they train. She pointed to a practice session where human instructors taught alien crews to fight on even when their main systems failed. They're teaching us that losing our technology doesn't mean losing the fight. In just 2 months, humanity had transformed the war. The aliens learned to embrace unpredictability, to think beyond their technology, to see chaos as an ally rather than an enemy. As Elder Green watched a mixed human-alien crew celebrate their latest victory, he smiled. The galaxy had gained more than just warriors. They had gained teachers. Humanity was showing them a new way to fight, to think, and to win. The swarm had finally met its match, not in superior technology, but in the beautiful chaos of the human way of war. Commander Mark Stone stood in Earth's orbital defense station, watching as thousands of crystalline shapes emerged from hyperspace. The swarm had finally come for Earth, and their numbers were beyond anything humans had faced before. "They're afraid of us now," he said to Elder Green, who floated nearby. "That's why they're here. We've hurt them too many times." The alien leader nodded, all 4 eyes fixed on the approaching threat. "They're adapting. This attack force is different, more random, less structured. They're trying to use our own tactics against us." But the swarm had made one critical mistake. They had brought the fight to humanity's home. Alarms blared across every continent. Instead of panic, there was purpose. Humanity had been preparing for this moment. Project Thunderstorm was about to begin. "All stations, report," Mark commanded. "Pacific Defense Grid ready. Atlantic arrays in position. Orbital platforms armed. Ground batteries standing by." The swarm approached in a chaotic cloud, expecting to confuse Earth's defenses. Instead, they found themselves facing something unprecedented. 7 billion humans, all fighting as one, each in their own way. "Now," Mark ordered, "show them what happens when you threaten our home." Earth's response was beautiful chaos. From Argentina, massive electromagnetic pulses rippled through space, created by converted power plants. In Russia, forgotten Cold War satellites awakened, launching clouds of simple metal debris into carefully calculated orbits. Indian and Chinese quantum computers worked together, creating false sensor readings that scattered the swarm's formations. "Impossible," an alien commander whispered. "Every human settlement is using different tactics, different weapons, but somehow they're all working together." Mark smiled. "We've had thousands of years of practice fighting each other. Now we're just using all those strategies at once." The space around Earth became a deadly dance. The swarm tried to adapt, but each time they countered one human tactic, 10 more hit them from unexpected directions. African ground stations launched swarms of tiny mirrors, turning sunlight into deadly beams. European particle accelerators fired streams of exotic matter that disrupted the swarm's crystalline structure. But the swarm was learning, adapting faster than ever before. They pushed through the outer defenses, shattering satellites and defense platforms. Earth's shields began to buckle. "They're breaking through," someone shouted. Mark reached for a red button, the signal to initiate Project Thunderstorm's final phase. "Then let's show them why you should never corner humans on their home world." Across the planet, weather control stations, built with a combination of alien tech and Earth science, activated simultaneously. Storm clouds formed with impossible speed. The upper atmosphere became charged with electrical potential. "Everyone behind the shields," Mark ordered. "Elder Green, get your ships to safety." The alien vessels retreated just as Earth itself seemed to come alive. Massive lightning bolts, enhanced by alien technology and guided by human ingenuity, lashed out into space. The electrical storm was like nothing the swarm had ever encountered. Pure chaos, impossible to predict or adapt to. Crystalline forms shattered by the thousands. Those that survived found themselves trapped in a web of electromagnetic fields, their usual escape routes blocked by carefully positioned debris clouds. "By the stars," Elder Green breathed. "You turned your entire planet into a weapon. No, Mark corrected him. We turned our planet's natural chaos into a weapon. That's something the swarm can never adapt to. Nature itself. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The swarm broke against Earth's defenses like waves against a cliff. For the first time in their existence, they experienced true fear, the fear of facing an enemy who fought with the fury of nature itself. As the last crystalline shapes fled or shattered, cheers erupted across every continent. Humanity had protected its home, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the combined chaos of 7 billion individuals fighting as one. Elder Green turned to Mark. You knew they would come here eventually. You planned for this. Mark nodded. Humanity has one absolute rule. Never threaten our home. The swarm just learned it the hard way. Earth had not just survived. It had shown the galaxy why humans were the ultimate weapon against the perfect order of the swarm. Sometimes, the most powerful force in the universe was the chaotic unity of the human spirit. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different from 6 months ago. Where once there had been only alien representatives in their floating pods, now humans stood among them. The massive windows showed the glittering remains of the swarm drifting in space, a memorial to their final battle. Admiral Walker stood beside Elder Green at the central podium, looking out at the assembled representatives of over 50 species. The victory had not come without cost. Both human and alien ships had been lost, brave warriors had fallen, but the swarm was finally defeated. How did you know the final attack would work? Elder Green asked quietly. Walker smiled. We didn't. That's the point your people finally understood. Sometimes you have to act without knowing the outcome. The swarm lost because they couldn't comprehend uncertainty. The final battle had been legendary. After the defense of Earth, the combined human-alien fleet had chased the swarm to their home system. There, humanity had unleashed everything they had learned about chaos and unpredictability. Ships had fought without computers, using human instinct and basic physics. Weapons had ranged from advanced alien technology to simple kinetic projectiles. Some crews had even turned their engines into weapons, creating unpredictable gravity waves that shattered crystal formations. But the true victory hadn't been the weapons or tactics. It had been the way humanity taught the galaxy to embrace chaos, to think beyond patterns and predictions. Elder Green raised all 4 arms for silence. Today, his voice echoed through the hall. We recognize not just a victory, but a transformation. Humanity didn't just help us defeat the swarm. They showed us a new way to exist in the universe. Blue floated forward, her transparent form glowing with excitement. Our civilizations had become too ordered, too predictable. We had forgotten that the universe itself is chaos, and that true strength lies in adapting to uncertainty. On the giant screens around the hall, images played. Human children teaching alien young how to think creatively. Earth's military academies filled with alien students learning about guerrilla warfare. Scientists from 100 worlds studying the simple machines that had helped win the war. Therefore, Elder Green continued, the Council has created new protocols. Every galactic defense force will now include human advisors. Every military academy will teach Earth's history of warfare. And most importantly, he turned to Walker. Earth is being granted a permanent seat on the Council, with full voting rights. The hall erupted in cheers. 6 months ago, many of these beings had considered humans primitive. Now they understood that humanity's greatest strength was precisely what had seemed to be their weakness, their unpredictability. Anna Miller, standing with the other human representatives, watched as alien diplomats approached with gifts. But these weren't just symbols of victory. They were requests for teachers, for cultural exchange, for learning the human way of thinking. You've changed how we see the universe, Blue told her. We thought advancement meant moving away from primitive things, but you showed us that true wisdom is knowing when to be simple and when to be complex. Commander Stone, who had led Project Thunderstorm, stepped forward with a proposal. The swarm taught us that we're stronger together. Why not create a new military force? One that combines alien technology with human unpredictability, not just for war, but for exploration and problem solving. The council unanimously approved. As the celebration continued, Walker found himself staring out at the stars. Humanity had gone from being seen as primitive savages to becoming teachers of the galaxy, not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they were different. What happens now? Elder Green asked him. Walker grinned. Now comes the fun part. There's a whole universe out there, full of mysteries and challenges. And if there's one thing humans love more than winning impossible fights, it's exploring the unknown. The galaxy had learned its lesson. When all else fails, call the humans. Not because they're the strongest or the smartest, but because they're the ones crazy enough to try the impossible and somehow make it work. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been their technology or their tactics. It had been their spirit, the beautiful chaos of the human soul that had taught the galaxy how to dream again.